Hi, I'm Shar. Growing up, I had a dad with big hoop dreams, which means I grew up around basketball my whole life. That eventually led me to major in sports media during college. My big day, graduation, on to bigger and better things in life. Until reality hits and getting a job at ESPN is harder than I thought. So since I'm not a journalist for the NBA, but I still have a passion for the sport, then I have to figure out, how can I talk basketball during my spare time? That's where I came up with Spotlight Stories, narrated by me. This channel is devoted to me choosing an NBA player at random and highlighting every possible detail in their basketball career. Without further ado, let's get in today's episode. This player was the last lottery pick of the 2012 NBA draft. Any guesses on who it might be? If you guess John Henson, then you are correct. But before we dive into his NBA career, let's take it all the way back to where it first started. John actually comes from a basketball family, with his dad being an alumni from Norfolk State University and his younger sister being an alumni from Duke University. So John began his high school career at Round Rock High School in Round Rock, Texas. Dating back to his sophomore year in high school, John was the second leading scorer of his team, putting up 12 points a game behind senior guard James Kirkendall, who was averaging 23 points per game. That duo went on to lead the Round Rock Dragons to a 15-14 record. So after that year, James graduated and went on to play football for the Texas Longhorns. That summer, John played AAU basketball for the D1 Texas Ambassadors and dominated the circuit, having coaches from Baylor, Florida, Kansas, UCLA, Texas, Ohio State, USC, and more pulling up to watch him play. While John returned for his junior year, making a big jump, leading his team in points and rebounds, averaging 21-10 with 5 blocks. But what really helped John dominate his junior year is his physicality. John came into his junior year 2 inches taller than his sophomore season, standing at 6'9", and putting on 20 pounds in weight, weighing in at 195 pounds. With a major improvement in physicality and stats, he will lead the Round Rock Dragons to a 16-16 overall record. John held offers from all over the country, with his top 5 schools being Georgia Tech, Memphis, Baylor, Arizona, and North Carolina. John would go on to commit to UNC by the end of his junior season. So that summer, John played AAU for the Franchise All-Stars, who was new to the circuit at the time, formed by personal trainer DeMarcus Peterson. John played alongside big man Ray Turner, where they both dominated and put the Franchise All-Stars on the map as an elite AAU program. That summer, John played against David and Travis Ware, who were also UNC commits. So after the AAU season, John and his family relocated to Tampa, Florida, which landed him to open a role at Sickles High School. John put up 17-12 a game, while also averaging 6 blocks, leading his team to a 24-5 record and going undefeated in their district. John finished his high school career as a Parade All-American and a McDonald's All-American, while also being selected to play in the Jordan's Brand Classic. John Henson was ranked 5th in the state according to 24/7 Sports, falling behind Texas commit Avery Bradley, Kentucky's commit DeMarcus Cousins, Kentucky's commit John Wall, and Georgia Tech's commit Derek Favors. Now, with the Tar Heels just winning a national championship prior to John's arrival and losing key players such as Tyler Hansborough, Ty Lawson, Wayne Ellington, and Danny Green. So there was a lot of pressure for a freshman John Henson coming into North Carolina. John made his college debut against Belmont Abbey College, putting up 5 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 blocks all within 17 minutes of play. John started to get more comfortable towards the end of his freshman season. Within the last 15 games, He averaged 9 points, 3 offensive rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. He ended his freshman season averaging 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game, and showing flashes of potential by putting up season highs all throughout the season with numbers like these. The Tar Heels ended their season with a 20-17 record, ranking 10th in the ACC. So John returned to North Carolina for his sophomore year with a major role increase. With only averaging 15 minutes per game his freshman year, he was bumped up to 27 minutes per game his sophomore year. He became part of a big three with freshman Harrison Barnes and junior Tyler Zeller. John averaged 12 and 10 per game, being the third Tar Heel to average a double-double the past 13 seasons. John was named top defensive player in the country by FoxSports.com and Yahoo Sports. He was also the first Tar Heel to ever win the ACC Defensive Player of the Year award. But what helped him secure that award is he led the ACC in block shots and was top 3 in rebounds. Fast forward to the ACC tournament. North Carolina was first matched up against Miami in the quarterfinals. John would go on to have a good game, scoring 10 points, grabbing 13 rebounds, and also blocking 5 shots. So that victory over Miami leads them to play the number 4 Clemson. That game was a nail-biter to start off with Clemson having a 10-point lead by half. But John scored 13 points in the second half, helping the Tar Heels force overtime. North Carolina ended up getting the W over Clemson, with the final score being 92-87, and John pulling in 11 rebounds and scoring 18 points. But unfortunately, North Carolina will fall short to Duke in the ACC championship, with the final score being 58-75, where John scored 10 points and pulled in a career high of 18 rebounds. On to the NCAA tournament, the Tar Heels first matched up against the Long Island University Sharks in the first round, where John would score 28 points and grab 11 rebounds in a dominant victory. That was the most points scored in a Tar Heels NCAA tournament debut since the 50s. Tar Heels first matched up against Washington in the second round, where John would put up 10 points and grab 10 rebounds to secure the W. But Isaiah Thomas wanted a goaltend at the end to force the overtime. What do you think about this? Next, they played Marquette University in the Sweet 16, where John would score 12 of his 14 points in the first half as UNC built a 40-15 lead. Marquette tried fighting back, scoring 7 more points than the Tar Heels, but there was no coming back. The Tar Heels will make it to the Elite 8 when they fall short to the Kentucky Wildcats. John minutes was restricted this game due to early foul trouble. He picked up his third foul with more than 6 minutes to play in the first half, and picked up his fourth foul 4 minutes into the second half. And what a lot of people don't know or may not remember is that Michael Jordan promised them any shoes they wanted if they got to the Final Four.
What size shoe you wear? I got some upstairs. 15. I wear 13. Sorry, dog. I wore 13. I got some cool grades. So they didn't see you guys cool grades? No. Get to the Final Four, you got anything you want. Get to the Final Four, you get anything you want. I promise.
John returned to UNC for his junior season and picked up where he left off at, scoring 12 points and grabbing 4 boards against Michigan State in their opening match of the season. Did I also mention that he recorded a season high of 9 blocks in that game too? In just the very next game, John recorded his first double-double of the season while putting up 20 points and grabbing 12 rebounds. So the Tar Heels finished that season with a 32-6 record, and John went on to average 13.7 points a game and 9.9 rebounds a game. Like, so do we just round that up and give him 10 rebounds a game and say he averaged a double-double back-to-back seasons, or no? Let me know in the comments on that one. But anyways, John went on to become the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, making him a back-to-back winner in that award. But fast forward to the ACC tournament. North Carolina will go on to face Maryland in the quarterfinals. And John would suffer a wrist injury in that game, making him questionable for the NCAA tournament. So the Tar Heels will go without John for the rest of the ACC tournament, beating NC State in the semifinals, but losing to Florida State in the championship game. John would go on to sit out the first game of the NCAA tournament against Vermont, but it was no problem for the Tar Heels as they take him down with the final score being 77-58. John made his return the second round in the NCAA tournament, and things was not easy that game. But that didn't slow down John from putting up 13 and 10 with 4 blocks. John and the Tar Heels would go on to defeat Creighton College in the second round and Ohio in the Sweet 16. They would go on to face Kansas in the Elite 8. John enters the game with a left wrist that's not 100% yet and rolls his ankle early in that game, which leads his minutes being restricted in the first half. That allows opposing players such as Thomas Robinson flourish in the first half due to Henson's absence. North Carolina would unfortunately fall short to Kansas that game, putting an end to their season. So John would talk with his family and think it's time to declare for the NBA draft. Fast forward to the final weeks leading up to the draft. John will go on to work out for a couple teams, such as the Hornets, the Rockets, the Warriors, the Bucks, the Trailblazers, and many more. As we all know, he went on to be selected 14th overall by the Milwaukee Bucks. John will play 4 games that year for the Milwaukee Bucks Summer League team, where he would put up 18 and 6 a game. And he would be selected to be a Summer League's All-Star. Fast forward to that regular season. John hasn't been playing much for the Milwaukee Bucks, only appearing in 5 out of the first 10 games for them. John would make his NBA debut against the Memphis Grizzlies, where he would put up 3 points and 4 rebounds in 17 minutes of play. But just in his 5th NBA game, he will put up 17 points and grab 18 rebounds against one of the most feared teams in the league. But it would be hard for John to catch a rhythm with the Bucks having locker room issues. The Bucks organizations and Scott Skiles were not seeing eye to eye. So in January of 2013, Skiles was stepped down from being the Milwaukee Bucks head coach. Let's pause the video for a second. First off, I want to thank you for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. But if there's any other player you'd like me to shine the spotlight on, drop them in the comments. It could be somebody with a quick prime, somebody you went to high school with, or one of your favorite video game players. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more content. Now, let's get back to the video. And Milwaukee's assistant coach Jim Boylan stepped up as head coach. John saw limited playing time throughout November and December, but he was put in rotation in January, beginning against the San Antonio Spurs, where he would put up 20 points and grab 9 rebounds. In the month of January, John would average 9.2 points and 6.4 rebounds per game. But things would change in February. The Bucks started the month 1-4, and John would only average 15 minutes a game. With a poor start to the month, Jim thought it was time for a change. John's potential would still be put on a leash under Jim Boylan's system. For the rest of the month, John would only average 10 minutes a game despite averaging almost 18 minutes a game the prior month. March 2nd, a game against the Toronto Raptors. In the first half, Henson scored 8 points and grabbed 2 rebounds in just under 9 minutes of playing time. For the rest of the game, only time John got off the bench was to cheer for his teammates. For the month of March, John has only had 3 games where he played more than 15 minutes and 6 games where he played under 10 minutes, making this statistically one of his worst months in his rookie year. But the last 5 games of the season, he would see a dramatic jump in playing time, averaging 34 minutes a game. On April 10th, John became the 4th player to score 17 points, grab 25 rebounds, and block 7 shots in one single game. A couple games later, he put up a season high of 28 points against the Oklahoma City Thunder. John would make his playoff debut against the Miami Heat in the first round. Jim Boylan knew he couldn't outplay Miami on the offensive end, so he took a defensive approach, giving John 20 minutes of play in Game 1. Things did not go as planned as Miami out-rebounds Milwaukee 46-31. John put up underwhelming stats in his playoff debut, which leads him playing no more than 5 minutes for the rest of the series. Milwaukee got swept by Miami, and that will put an end to John's first year. His averages do not look impressive on paper, but those numbers only told half of the story. There was a lot of pressure on John heading into his second professional season. With the Bucks losing key players such as Brandon Jennings, J.J. Redick, Monte Ellis, and more, there would be an obligation for John to step up on the offensive end. Not to mention to play in a new system, as Milwaukee Bucks fired Jim Boylan and hired Larry Drew as their new head coach. Fast forward to the 2013 Summer League, where John would return for his second year. John looked really good and improved coming into the Summer League. And just in 3 games of play, he would average 14 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. While his numbers haven't been as good in the preseason, he has shown that he can play at a high level, and if given the minutes, he can have a massive impact. The Milwaukee Bucks started off the season horrible, with a 3-13 start and dealt with a lot of injuries. As players continued to struggle through injuries, that meant more playing time for John and some rookie named Giannis Antetokounmpo. John's numbers in December would be quite impressive, averaging 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game. But an ankle injury in late December caused John to miss 7 games in the middle of his most impressive run so far in his young career. Fast forward to the last few weeks of the season, John scoring 13.1 points on 62 true shooting percentage off the bench. But the Bucks go on and have the worst season in franchise history, going 15-67. So the Bucks do not make the playoffs that year. John Henson's 2013 through 14 season wasn't a bust by any means. He made a clear step forward, putting up 11 points, 7 rebounds, and a team high of 1.7 blocks per game. Going into the 2014 through 15 season, the Bucks will start off with a record of 7-6 under a new head coach. So this would be John's 4th coach going into his 3rd year. But unfortunately, John would suffer an injury early in the game against the Detroit Pistons in late November. John would miss a month of basketball due to a broken foot. John would return in late December and picked up where he left off at. Nothing crazy happened for John in the 2014 through 15 season. The Bucks would finish with a 41-41 record, and John would average 7 points, 4.7 rebounds, and a career high of 2 blocks per game. In the postseason, the Bucks would match up against the Chicago Bulls in the first round. and John will see real minutes for the first time in his career during the playoffs, averaging 8.8 points, 8 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks a game. Although the Bucks will lose the series 4-2, John will have an amazing Game 3, putting up 15 points and grabbing 14 rebounds. In the following offseason, John will sign a 4-year, $44 million extension. Going into the 2015-16 season, John minutes will be cut due to Greg Monroe's arrival. John will also miss over 20 games due to a back injury, only averaging 16.8 minutes a game and starting 1 out of his 57 games played. John would average 7 points and 4 rebounds that season, with a total of 109 blocks. John was also second in the league in blocks per 48. Entering the 2016-17 season, John will continue to deal with injuries, missing 24 games due to a thumb injury. It will be tough for John to get consistent minutes, competing with rookie Thon Maker. John had a fairly successful 2017-18 season. He will have a career high in starts, starting 69 out of 76 of his games played. But unfortunately, in the playoffs, John was considered unplayable by the Boston Celtics' ability to pull traditional big men away from the paint. Coming off one of his best seasons from the Milwaukee Bucks, John had high hopes in a 2018-19 season. But unfortunately, John would be traded early in that season. The Cavaliers have acquired Matthew Dellavedova and John Henson as a part of a 3-team trade. In 405 games with the Milwaukee Bucks, John averaged 7.8 points on 53% shooting, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.4 blocks in 20.1 minutes per game. John did not appear at all with the Cavaliers in the 2018-19 season due to a ligament tear in his left wrist. Fast forward to the 2019-20 season, John has continued to struggle with injuries. He missed the preseason with the reported ankle and groin injuries. After appearing in Cleveland's home game opener in late October against the Indiana Pacers, John reportedly suffered a right hamstring strain. December rolled around, John has been active and healthy for the team. Coming off the bench, John has averaged 4.3 points on 52% shooting from the field, with 7 assists and 3.2 rebounds, all under in 13 minutes of playing time. But come February, John would be traded to the Detroit Pistons for Andre Drummond. John only appeared in 29 games for the Cavaliers, averaging 5 points on 50% shooting, 4 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks per game. John will only play 11 games for the Pistons before COVID-19 happened and the league shut down. The Pistons would go into rebuild mode, and 29-year-old John Henson was not a good fit. John signed a 10-day contract with the New York Knicks in the 2021 season, but hasn't seen any playing time. On March 8, 2022, John signed with the Mets de Guaynabo, a professional basketball team located in Puerto Rico, but unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to play any games with them. So sad to say, John's long professional decorated basketball career would come to an end. But you can still catch John on social media doing different shows and podcasts. And here are some fun facts. Did you know John has his jersey retired from his old high school and one of the first to do it? John originally wanted to go to Texas for college, but the vibe at North Carolina was just so much better than any other school he visited, there was no type of animosity in the air. John was originally supposed to be a wing coming into college, but with the injury of Ed Davis John's freshman year, that kind of forced him to play the forward and center position. In John's third year in Milwaukee, He was wrongfully stereotyped by a jewelry store in Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin, but later was apologized to by the owner for his employees' actions. And that's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, folks, peace.
Listen to the crowd on Jimmy John night. This is the Jimmy John night to remember.
That's right. Look at